Hey guys, it's Jessica, and I am naked-faced because we are going to put on the new Covergirl Trublend foundation that they have in 40 shades, which is a big deal for the drugstore, and also some of their new primers. And I don't always do dedicated reviews to products like this. Well, I haven't in a long time. But I want to get back into it, A, and B, this is kind of an exciting range because it's one of the first times that drugstore companies have put out a much more inclusive range of shades in a foundation. Oftentimes you can see more inclusivity in higher end brands because it does cost more money, or so they say, to make the different shades. I'm sure it does. But it's exciting that a drugstore company is doing it because I feel like that's going to pave the way for other drugstore companies to do it, because then it's like, well, now you have no excuse to not be doing it. You know what I'm saying? There never was an excuse, but you know what I mean. So I figured I'd just show you me applying it. I've been using these for the past week, so I do have pretty finalized thoughts. However, as I always say, my mind can change as I try it more and more and more, and with different primers and things. So I will keep you updated on my channel and on my social if anything changes, like my feelings towards them, but I don't know that it will. So we're gonna try 2 of these primers today. So they have 4 primers in the line. It's the Trublend Base Business is what they're calling the primer line. So there's the Skin Smoothing, which does a great job kind of smoothing out. Your face kind of just feels like a baby's bottom when you use it in a really nice way. Then there's the Color Neutralizing, which kind of has this greenish hue to it. That I've tried on my nose because my nose tends to be a little bit more red. I feel like it helped a little bit, but not enough that I feel the need to use it every single day. But if you just generally have redness on your face, it might be worth trying because I do think it helped tone it down just a little bit. But the 2 that I'm going to be using, and my 2 favorite in the line, are the Illuminating Primer, and I'm also going to use the Purple Tinted Pore Minimizing Primer. So for the Illuminating one, this kind of has like a peachy tint to it, and it definitely has some, not glitter by any means, but there's definitely a little glow to it. So I just apply this everywhere on my face except for my nose, because that's where I'm going to put my Pore Minimizing Primer. That's where I feel like I need it. I really like this stuff because we are going to put on a matte foundation, or at least what claims to be matte, and I feel like this has done a great job at making sure my skin doesn't look too dry, because I don't like a super matte look on my face. If you do, or if you have oily skin, you probably wouldn't need an illuminating primer. You might want maybe the Skin Smoothing or something else. I'm going to put a little bit more on because, again, like I said, I really like the way this primer makes my skin look. I like to focus it here because that's where I notice the most dryness. And I also like to focus it here on my cheeks just because I think it looks really nice being kind of glowy in that region. Again, even though it's an illuminating primer, it's not greasy feeling, and I don't feel that it's super greasy looking either. So with the Pore Minimizing one, I'm just going to put it on my nose. And if you're curious about price of these, I will have prices and links for everything I mentioned down below, as I always do. But I'm just kind of pressing this onto my nose. Sometimes I'll bring it up just a little bit, and even sometimes just throw a little on the chin, even though I already put the other primer on there. So again, I feel like this does a good job of kind of filling in any pores you might have. It kind of smooths the area like the Skin Smoothing does. These do have kind of a fresh scent to them, which I don't mind. But again, if you're sensitive to fragrance, it's not super strong, but you can, I mean, you definitely notice it. So it's it's there. So something else to keep in mind. I always like to mention the scent. All right, so shade-wise, it's kind of ironic that I'm struggling with finding my shade, because their whole thing with this line is that it is 40 shades, and you know, anyone can find their shade. Well, I cannot find my shade. So here are the claims of this foundation. I wanted to read all of this to you. That way I can kind of hearken, is that the right word? Hearken back to it? Is that a phrase? Anyway, I think it is. So it says, from your favorite CoverGirl foundation line comes a matte formula that isn't drying or cakey. Trublend's Matte Made's formula is developed with Flexi Hold technology. That always makes me laugh. I'm like, what is Flexi Hold technology? That creates a strong yet flexible film on skin for durability and comfort, while the mattifying powders absorb oil and minimize pores for a soft, matte, flawless finish up to 12 hours of wear. So 12 hours, pore minimizing, oil control, transfer resistant, 40 shades. So they go much deeper than a lot of skincare lines, foundation lines, drugstore foundation lines. do. However, I have heard some people with much fairer skin than I talk about how it really doesn't go light enough. So that's something to keep in mind if you've got ultra fair skin. I don't know. And maybe with CoverGirl being so, you know, on top of this inclusion thing right now with this line, you wonder if they'll hear that and say, okay, well then let's add maybe some more here. And if there are any other people that are like, oh, well, I'm on the deep end, but there's not enough cooler deep tones or warmer, you know, hopefully they'll listen to us and add more to the line if they need to, which I think would be really cool. CoverGirl, if you're listening. But all of this was sent to me, by the way. It's not sponsored. I'm always honest. Most of the things I try are sent to me, and I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly either way. So, all right. So I've tried M15. They have light, medium, like tan, and deep. So they have 4 kind of ranges within it. And then they have cool tones and warm tones and neutral tones. The only thing I wish is that they actually labeled it as such. So if they had said neutral 10 or warm 5, they don't. So, you know, you kind of got to look at it. And of course, in a store, it's hard. So if you can swatch it, but some stores have swatch and testers, some don't. It is what it is. But that is something to keep in mind, that it is great that they have this range, but it's a little bit harder to navigate if you're looking for specific undertones. So I have medium 15, which would typically be way too dark for me, but it's got this really nice neutral tone that I loved. And so I've actually used this alone and it looked okay, which surprised me because it's much farther up on the shade range and I'm not, you know, I'm decently fair. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna mix it. I also have light 15 and light 20. Light 20 is a little bit, it looks like cooler than light 15. So I think I might mix light 20 and N15 together. I've applied this with a brush and I've applied it with a sponge, and I feel like it applies the best with a sponge. For me, matte foundations can tend to look really cakey, and this one, while I don't think it looked cakey with a brush, I just think it looked more flawless with a sponge. I feel that way about a lot of foundations, to be honest with you. So if you're, you know, one that you really don't like sponges, then use a brush, no problem. But so I've got 2 pumps of the M15 and 1 pump of the L20. It doesn't matter because none of you guys are my exact skin tone, I'm sure, but if you are. So yeah, this is kind of creating like a perfect kind of neutral foundation for me. But anyway, so we've got those primers on. Let's go ahead and start applying. I'm just using a L'Oreal sponge. Actually, that's a pretty good match. Dang, Jess. What are you, a mixologist or something? So I feel like coverage-wise, my hair keeps getting in there, it covered a lot of my freckles. I mean, a lot. It's kind of crazy. And you can definitely build this up. I realized I would call this medium coverage, just flat out, but you really can build it. I've learned as I've tried it more to be more than that, which is cool because that gives you the option. I think, like for me, I prefer medium coverage. I feel like that's enough where my skin can still breathe, but it's not, I don't know, it doesn't look dead, but it's also covering some nice parts of my skin that just kind of needed covered. I'm already out of foundation though. That's crazy. I used 3 pumps. So I don't know if that's my own sponge, you know what I mean? But it's just something to be aware of, that I feel like as it spreads with the sponge, it just really either is soaking into the sponge or soaking into my skin. But even still, I feel like I never use this much foundation with other brands. I don't know. Maybe I'm in my head about it. Regardless. Here it is on my skin. I think it looks really nice. Guys, I was really impressed with this foundation. I have not found a CoverGirl foundation I've loved. I tried their one with the blue cap that so many people loved, and I liked it. It was okay. I haven't had that one in a while. It was too much for my skin. It was too dry. I felt like it made my skin break out. I just feel like my skin doesn't react well to them. And this is the first one I've tried where I was like, I feel like it looks nice. I really, really do. I feel like it stays on pretty well throughout the day. The only thing I've noticed that's really weird is that I will, and it has to be this foundation. And if you can enlighten me as to what you think it is, or maybe you know what it is, every time I apply this, I have these little white dots, and they'll brush right off, But I don't know, I'm like, is that something in the foundation? Is it like little powder particles? They're not glittery at all, but every time I apply it, no matter what I'm using to apply it, I always have little white dots that I kind of have to brush away. What is that? Can someone help us? And then we can thumbs up whoever knows, and so everyone can know in the comments, because I'm so curious. Not enough that it really bothers me, it's just kind of odd. I've never had a foundation like that. So coverage wise, I think it's really nice, like I explained earlier. Wear time is pretty darn good. This wears really well throughout the day. I've not noticed it breaking apart in the normal places my foundation breaks apart, like on my nose. Now, it is allergy season, so for me, I'm itching my nose. It's anything I'm wearing, no matter what it is, breaks apart of my nose during allergy season because I'm itching it and trying not to touch it, but you need to touch it. So I feel like it's hard to test it at this season of my life, like literally this allergy season. But what I've noticed is it really stays on really, really well. It doesn't break apart weird here, which usually, you know, I've got little bits of fine lines. Usually foundations will, and it doesn't. So I like it. And I'm so glad that I do, because, you know, it is more inclusive. And I know that they do have some barren spots to fill on the lighter end, etc. But I think they're doing something great here. And I don't want us to forget that, because it's easy for us to get excited about something like this. I don't know how to put this into words. And then all of a sudden I already see people tearing it down. I've seen this on Twitter of like, well, they don't have this shade range. Well, I'm like, they're doing something good. We need to applaud them for that, be excited about that, know that it's sparking, hopefully, other change in other companies, and then let CoverGirl fill in the blanks with any shade ranges they might be missing, things like that. Now, I would love if CoverGirl came out with a more luminous version, because I just love luminous foundations. Now, again, I feel like with their primer, it actually didn't turn out super matte anyway. If you put on a regular primer, it definitely looks more matte. But it's not so matte that your skin feels like the life sucked out of it. So if you have skin like mine, normal to dry, put a moisturizing primer on underneath. It doesn't have to be CoverGirl's, although I do like it. Or maybe use a facial oil underneath, whatever, and then go in with it. And if you've got oily skin, then use your normal primers you like ones that are oil controlling, and then use this, and you're gonna have that really nice matte look. But I feel like the way I did it gives it more of a satin look. So I didn't really talk about the packaging, but it is really nice. It's their normal foundation packaging with the pump, which I love, 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 love pumps. So all in all, I would give this like a 4.5 out of 5. I think shade range is great, packaging is great. It's a nice wearable foundation, but it really does, like, I feel like my skin looks its best, to be honest with you. And of course, once I get concealer and everything else done, but I hope this review is helpful. I don't know if it was weird to look at me like half ready the entire time, but there you are. But other than that, if you're curious, I'm actually today trying out a whole slew. My table is filled with a bunch of new drugstore makeup from different brands. So I'm doing a get ready with me as we speak, that I will also have up on my channel. If it is up, I will put the link below. If not, subscribe, stay tuned. Check that out, because there's a lot of new exciting things I haven't heard anyone talk about that I wanted to try with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.